Thank you. I'm Wanda Williams, and I have 10 minutes to share with you 2 alternative therapies that I use, and I will do that. The first one is the use of acupuncture therapy. And acupuncture is a traditional Chinese medicine, a technique that involves the inserting of thin needles into specific points on the body. It is based on the belief that the body has an energy flow system called qi, and by acupuncture can help restore the balance and flow by stimulating these points. So for those of you that have a fear of needles, the needles that are used in acupuncture are, the easiest way for me to describe it would be to think about it in terms of like the bristles on a toothbrush. If you look at them individually, they're very, very thin, they're flexible, and the needles used in acupuncture are just like that. And they're disposable, so it's one, for the individuals when the physician is using them. So I was introduced for the first time to acupuncture by my Uncle Henry, this was like about 50 years ago, when he was working as a handyman for Dr. G. My Uncle Henry had serious issues with his hips, but he didn't want to have hip surgery. Dr. G was an internal medicine physician as well as an acupuncturist. And so when Uncle Henry went to him for his issues, he used acupuncture. He had relief for at least several months when he had an acupuncture treatment. So that lessened his need for hip surgery, which eventually he had years later. But he got several months of relief. So when I started having severe migraine headaches and none of the medication that was given to me worked, and the doctor said, well, you just have to learn to live with it. There was no living with severe migraine headaches. So I saw Dr. G. Dr. G said that, okay, you'll need like about 4 sessions with me, like 1 per week. And the thing is, at that time, Dr. G was charging like $100 per session, cash. I was a single parent working as a teacher. I did not have $100 a week to give Dr. G. I explained that to him. He said, okay, we'll put you on a payment plan. Put me on a payment plan. I had the treatments, and I received, it was like really excellent care. I did not have any more migraine headaches for a 4-year period. So it worked like just extremely well for me. And then after 4 years, the headaches came back. I started the plan again, and that went on for like a series of like maybe 3 more years in terms of having to return to him. But it worked better than any medication that they were using, certainly at the time, for me. And now my insurance company pays for 20 sessions of acupuncture a year. I really appreciate that. And Kaiser, I'm not a Kaiser person, but Kaiser also has acupuncture as a regular part of treatment for patients, and I'm sure you'll probably have to request that. Now, my other alternative medicine therapy that I've used is the use of an osteopath doctor. And your wonderful Dr. Amy Patel has D.O. at the end of her name, so she's an osteopath. I have been seeing my D.O. for the past 20 years about once a month. 8 years ago, I fractured my wrist trying to manually lift the garage door because it wasn't working electronically. And I knew that, if you just push it, it'll go up, right? Well, I was pushing and fractured my wrist without realizing I had actually fractured it. So after a couple of weeks of pain, I called my primary care physician, went to see the primary care physician. She ordered an x-ray, and that's when we discovered that I had actually fractured the wrist. She told me to follow up with an orthopedic surgeon. I made that appointment, but I had an appointment with my doctor of osteopath, my DO, so I saw her first before going to the orthopedic doctor. She did some manipulations with my wrist in the office, and within like a few minutes of that, the pain was gone, and I've never had like another problem with my wrist as a result of that. So working with an osteopath really can help you. It can make a real difference for you. And I should share this with you. Doctors of osteopath are fully licensed physicians who practice in all areas of medicine, emphasizing a whole person approach to treatment and care. DOs are trained to listen and partner with their patients. DOs see an interrelated unity among all systems of the body, each working with the other to heal in times of illness. DOs strive to help their patients be truly healthy, not just free of symptoms. They also receive extra training in the musculoskeletal system, which is the body's interconnected system of nerves, muscles, and bones. Through osteopathic manipulative treatments, DOs may use their hands to diagnose illness and injury and encourage your body's natural tendency toward self-healing. So a few years ago, I had a situation where I have avascular necrosis in both my hips. And I was at a church and I was going to make an emphasis for our sickle cell camp. So I'm standing for this congregational song, and my hips started hurting. And I'm like, oh, wow, I got to go stand in front of these people in a few minutes. Let me slip these high heels off. So I took my shoes off and thought, okay, if I stand flat-footed, maybe it'll be okay in a minute. So after a few minutes, it did get better, at least well enough for me to go stand in front of the people and make my emphasis about camp. So after that, I made an appointment to make sure I was in to see my osteopath. Now, what the osteopath does is I have 50 minutes of time with this person. I don't have any other physician that works on my body for a 50-minute period. Now, that's real intensive care. And it's gentle manipulations that helps your body to heal itself. Now, my insurance company does pay for, they will reimburse me for a portion of her fee. The fee is $250. And my insurance company will reimburse for at least 110 of that. But it's well worth it. I've been doing it for a good 20 years. And I feel that has been the difference in helping me maintain without having to have a surgery. So thank you. I have pamphlets that I can give out to you all later. So thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Tayo. Something's wrong with this. Sorry. My wellness journey started with me just breathing. And it's something so simple, but it's something that takes a lot of work. And when I started at the age of 12, thank you. I started at the age of 12. And my mom couldn't be in the hospital with me. So what she would do is I was ready to go home. My stays were really long. So I was ready to go home often, and I would call her and I would cry and I would say, I want to go home. But she couldn't be there because I was in there for weeks. And she would tell me, she would just sit on the phone and say, Tayo, just breathe. breathe, because I was crying hysterically. She said, it's going to heighten the pain. And I said, maybe if I calm down. So she would sit on the phone with me for at least an hour, and she'll say, just breathe. And what now is what people call a body scan is what she was really doing. She would tell me, hey, start from your head. What are you feeling? Because in order for you to go home, you got to know how you feel. Do you feel like you can go home? And I was like, I'm not sure. And so she would say, just start from your head. Do you feel any pain? And she would always say, breathe. Feel the pain in your head. Is there any pain? And she'll say, touch your shoulders. Shrug your shoulders. I would shrug my shoulders, move my arms. I would tingle my hands, and I would scan my body all the way down to my foot. And I would do this while I was laying in the hospital bed because I wanted to know exactly she wanted to know exactly what I was feeling so she could feel comfortable. Hey, she can go home. And being 12 years old, I think this pain scale is kind of funny because do you really know if it's 1 to 10? You kind of, like I think Dr. Google said, you want to know, how do you feel? And how do you feel is very important to me. I stopped using the pain scale because I always wanted to know, how do I feel? And so after that, I think age of 12, so every time I went into the hospital, that was my routine. Lay in the bed, scan my body, calm my body, and see how I feel. It calmed my pain. It relaxed me. I stopped being in such a panic and ready to go home. I was more relaxed and focused on my health and feeling well. As I got older, I wanted to expand that. I didn't know what I was actually doing. I just know once I transitioned over to the adult hospital, I was put out the hospital because they said, you look fine. There's nothing wrong. And a majority of the time, I started doing so much mental work that I just went into the hospital very calm. So I always looked fine. I didn't look like I was in pain. So I was put out the hospital once I transitioned to at the age of 18. And I said, Tyler, you have to do something a little bit more because what I used to do is not working. So how do I expand that? And I always say, I then had to learn the hospital rules. What are the rules in the hospital? What are the rules for myself? What am I going to do to now make sure I have better care when I go into the hospital? So after I got put out the hospital, I was upset, not little. And I went the rules. What are the rules for me as a patient? I had to learn what to do. And I think not only did I learn what to do while I was in the hospital, so I would never overreact, because I wanted to keep my mental space and remain calm. I also had to learn, what do I need to do as a patient? What do I need to do in order to stay calm? And I always say that's a lot of self-awareness. I think majority of my self-care happened while I was in the hospital. A lot of my learning about my care and learning about myself was a lot was done while I was in the hospital bed. I think Jay Snow said it the other day. He did a lot of thinking while he was in the hospital. When he came out, he came out empowered. So I got put out the hospital. I came out empowered after that. I went back to the hospital. I said they would never put me out again. And so people don't know those little things affect your health. All of the aggression and anger that you have inside of you, it doesn't help with your pain. Move forward to more so, I started focusing on self-awareness. What in my environment that I'm doing every day that affects my health? Who are the people I'm around? When I went into the hospital this one time, who was around me? Was I arguing with somebody? Was I fighting with somebody? Was I upset? Because sickle cell doesn't always happen just because. It's a pre-trigger. A lot of time our crisis come along because of the things that we're doing and the environment that we're in. So what is my environment like? What is my home life like? So I started, even though I have sickle cell, I now have to grow in my sickle cell. I have to grow with my sickle cell because it's not going anywhere. So when I say self-awareness, people say, oh, I know my body. Do we really know our body? do we really know? I used to do this thing called selfish self-care. I stopped doing it because people didn't understand what it meant. But it really meant putting up boundaries to really focus on, I didn't let things affect me so it would affect my health. So if you called me while I was in the hospital, I would turn my phone off. I would go into a space and I would just remain calm. Nothing matters when I'm not feeling well. So people will call me selfish for doing that. You just cut off your phone. You just you're not interacting with people. I always say that if you don't pay attention, you will end up in the hospital more and they will be at home. So you can't argue with people. You can't let people get you upset. So I always say that's a level of self-awareness. Do you know your body really? Not just when it comes to sickle cell pain in general, because those are the things that actually help you prior to going to the hospital. And so now you want to learn, okay, being self-aware helped me advocate for myself better. And now that mindful communication that I'm using will help me now communicate with my physicians better. I would learn, okay, if I had an argument with this doctor and then I moved to a next hospital, then I had an argument with this doctor, then I moved to the next hospital. I'm the only person moving hospitals. I need to figure out, am I mad or is it the doctors that's really mad? So who is it? And so I had to check myself a few times and say, okay, all right, I'm getting older. What can I do now? Because I can't continue to do the same things that I did when I was younger. So if I thought that arguing with everybody was okay, as I got older, I realized that affects my health. That affects everything that I'm doing. Am I going to be able to function if I continue to operate like that? So when I say mindful breathing started everything, but it started from breathing, then to mindful communication, self-awareness, being able to advocate for myself. And I wanted to make sure, okay, I have a plan for mindful communication helped me understand that me and my physician, we are a team. And if the team is not going well, I think Pat said it yesterday, you have to build a team and you have to build what works for you, because just going with the plan that is created for you sometimes doesn't work for you. The plan that your friend have for you doesn't work for you. And remaining calm, I don't know. People always like, you're so happy, you're so good, full of joy, because anything else will affect my health. If I argue with a boyfriend, a friend, or anything, I will end up in the hospital and they will not. So when I say every factor affects your health, you are the only person living with this disease. We're the only people that it affects from the people that are around you, family. So why let them send you to the ER? Those are the triggers that affect pain. And so when we're thinking about pain, we need to think about the little things every day, because sickle cell doesn't stop. And the pain, and you live with it every day. So every day you're practicing something that you have to work on yourself. Start with one thing that's work on yourself to ensure that you're also growing with your sickle cell. All right, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a blessing to be here. My name is Demetrius Wyant, patient, advocate, activist, living with sickle cell disease, genotype SS. And what you're looking at right now is just literally the grace of God. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about my journey and what led me to healthy alternatives, living with sickle cell and having pain management. So my journey was a little different from a male perspective, living with sickle cell, I battle with what's called priapism. And priapism, man, is very rare. It's a prolonged erection that happens in males without sexual arousal. So it's this painful erection that happens where the blood goes into the penis and it doesn't come out. And it could really cause a lot of issues, erectile dysfunction, a lot of problems if you're not able to get the care that you need for it. And with me, it was really rare. None of the doctors that I was seeing knew anything about it, and it caused my transition at the age of 15. So I transitioned from pediatrics to adult care at 15 because my priapism was so extensive. So just the treatment for sickle cell has led me to want to know healthy alternatives because the treatment for sickle cell is very extensive. It was playing a major part of my life, and I really felt like it was deteriorating me to the point to where I felt like I was dying. The medicine that I was taking, the pharmaceuticals that I was taking on a daily basis was messing with my mental. The side effects was playing a real heavy role on me, more so than what the pain medication was supposed to be doing for me, taking the pain away. And one thing about it that I had to do was switch my mindset. And I looked in the mirror and I said, listen, do I really want to die at the age that they said that I was set out to die with this illness? Or do I want to live well and take control of my health and live the life that God has provided for me, a purposeful life, empowerment life, and be the best that I can out here in this world? So I made a decision to live a purposeful life, and put all the opioids and all of the medications down and start focusing on research through healthy alternatives. All right, and that led me down to understanding, watching the indigenous people and how they live and their life expectancy, how longer that they live before, longer than us here in America. So I realized that the nutrition was far from my circle. I never had nutrition. Growing up in the inner cities of Des Moines, Iowa, not having access to real nutrition and real food, we ate whatever was relatively available. I realized that going to the grocery store and buying all the cheapest items in the store was what was hurting me the most, why I was always sick. The processed foods, the frozen foods, the sugary drinks, all the snacks and everything that we was overindulging in, all the artificial flavors and preservatives. So I was chemical on chemical. Not only was I ingesting chemical through food that I was eating, I was also ingesting chemical through the pharmaceuticals for my illness that I was faced with. So I had looked in the mirror, man, and realized that I was dying. And this is the reason that they give me a life expectancy of what they give me, because the treatment that I was dealing with sickle cell, and also the lack of education that we had in the inner city and just the community about nutrition, we was far behind, and I realized that. So I didn't want nothing more in my health journey than to be healthy. So I made the switch, man. I really started to become my own doctor, and I did research, and I knew it was going to take work, but I didn't want nothing more but to live well with sickle cell, because I had undergone so many surgeries and treatments and all of that, and I just felt like, listen, I know I have a lot of talent that God blessed me with, and I want to live well with this illness. So that allowed me to study nutrition and herbalism. And then through my findings, I started learning that it's going to take self-discipline for me to be able to incorporate these. So I had to start doing fasting, and I had to start detoxing, and I had to learn the certain type of herbs that I needed to do to detox and fast and get rid of all of this poison and chemical that was in my body that I was ingesting that wasn't good for me. And then it really just started with the switch of the liquid intake. I had to switch my intake from drinking regular water to the biggest water at the Great Value water that had 40 bottles in it for $2 at Walmart. It was dead water. It wasn't hydrating my cells like I needed it to. So then I had to go into, well, what's hydrating my cells? Water with alkalinity in it. So I started learning what alkaline was and getting on an alkaline diet. That's why you see Dr. Sebi right here on my shirt. I started following his teachings. through all of this, I just wanted to better myself as a young black man living with this illness. When I was battling it in the hospital, going through my issues with priapism and just sickle cell in general, I could never find nobody that looked like me that was sharing their story. I could never hear no music to play that was able to that I could relate to with this illness. I was never able to watch any films that was able to inspire me to live well with this illness. So God spoke to me, and every time I was in the hospital, that you are the creator, you are the teacher, you are the person that is going to be here to help echo the voice, to live well with sickle cell, to thrive, to live in your full potential, to not allow this illness to drown you, to get you down, to cripple you, to not allow any physician. Thank God for the physicians and everybody that's in place for us to help us. But we have to literally be our own doctors and be our own professionals and have self-discipline within our own care before we go to these professionals, because honestly, they don't live with it. So I had to dig deep into myself, put the work in for myself, and really utilize that work to be able to see a change in my life. My baseline hemoglobin always stayed at, like, my high would be 7.7. Now I'm at 10, and my doctor, my hematologist, they like, man, what is it that you're doing? But they realized the switch that I made. Every medication that they ever brought to me, they realized that I was the professional, that I got into this doctor mode to where I was researching every single thing that they brought in front of me that they wanted to get me on. They realized that I was a strong-headed young man that really understood what he had going on in life and what he really wanted to do. So I wasn't the person that was always taking the medications that they was given. I was the one doing the research and then seeing how it would react to my body. So with that, with every medication that they brought me, I looked up the alternative through a herb. So also knowing that the Lord said, that the word says that herbs are the healing of a nation. So I needed to start studying herbs and healthy alternatives that was going to help me on my journey. And then through that, I also found out that, man, the herbs help with the immunity, so immune boosting. And most of the herbs have antiviral properties, antibacterial properties as well. A lot of these things that we're depleted of. So I had to know that I had to start ingesting certain herbs and supplements into my body that I was depleted of. The same with Indari. Like Indari is an L-glutamine, so just going to the natural source, which is moringa. If you haven't heard of moringa, it's also essential amino acid. It has L-glutamine in it. I take that every single day. It's good with energy, blood pressure, all of these good things that we need to help regulate the blood and keep the blood circulating through our bodies. Also beets. I started juicing really heavy. Never had beets growing up. I hated the taste of beets, but I realized that it was helping the circulation of my blood cells, so I had to incorporate this. I had a good friend that was from Jamaica, God rest his soul, Patrick Gordon. He always used to tell me, brethren, benefits over taste. Benefits over taste. And that's one thing that always stuck with me, because when you're ingesting these natural remedies, it's not often too tasteful. It's not one of those things that you just run to and say, oh man, let me get me a beet smoothie. Let me get me a chlorophyll juice. Let me get me a celery, a kale juice. So it's one of those things that you have to understand that benefits over taste, and you have to start doing the things that you know is going to help your body. So put in position to be active, to exercise, to stretch more. These are all healthy alternatives. And also just being a creative, writing, having mindfulness time for myself. These are all the things that's been able to help me on my journey. And it's been a blessing. I've been able to create what's called Save the Male Trunks. It's a priapism initiative for the young men who battle with sickle cell. Through my battlings with priapism. Absolutely. And it's been very effective. It's been a blessing to be able to send out over 300 boxes across the globe, nationwide. And the response that I've been able to get from young men and caregivers and parents about how their child has now opened up about this illness, about this thing that they've been dealing with that they never knew that they was dealing with. Because usually with priapism, we're battling at night. You know, it happens at night. So caregivers are usually asleep and we're up battling with this. So thank God for the young males that don't have a voice, that don't understand it. And save the mail trunks, man. You can find me at artheprophet.com. My brochures are on there. Actually, I have a few brochures as well to pass out. But yes, thank you so much. If you know any man who struggle and battle with priapism, please get with me. I would love to send them a care box. It's all free. It's complimentary. This information needs to be relatively available for everybody. I can't wait till the day that it's in every hospital across the globe that we can educate. Providers need to be talking about priapism to the young man in pediatrics. I shouldn't have known what priapism was when I was battling it and facing it and then having it on to the cups of having surgery. So that's one thing that I just want to educate on. So healthy alternatives, live well with sickle cell, take care of yourselves, and know that you are powerful and special.
Give a round of applause for our panel. This was great. Oh, Dr. Riley got the mic. Let's see what she has to say.
Come up. Demetrius, I'm going to, let's talk afterwards to get 50 to 100 of your boxes for all of our young men in California, okay? Thank you.
Okay, we only can take two. Oh, we already have three. This is all it. This is it. This is it. This is it. Okay, and go.
I want to thank y'all for your talks. One of the things that I started doing on this year was started growing my own fruit and also started canning to help with bettering for my life. You know, I just want to appreciate y'all. Speaking of the mindful, have you read any books or any other thing that you might want to share with us, some of your literature that you might have read to help you with your mindful breathing?
Oh, yeah, it's on. You can, yep, right there.
Hello. Well, I don't have any books that I read. I was actually taught from my mom, and then, well, I just kind of did research further as I got older. So I'm gonna say I created a journal for mindful reading, but other than that, I didn't actually just read books on it. I just did research on it to just figure out what was I already doing, and just figuring out how it was connected to my health. How it was helpful for my health.
So first of all, thank you all. I have more of a comment, I guess, than a question, and it's for Demetrius. So I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I hope I don't start crying, but I have had a nephew with SC that dealt with priapism a lot and struggled to find, I guess, the right care for his priapism. His physicians wound up just kind of dosing him up, in my opinion, with a lot of opioids at night, Xanax. It took a big mental toll on him. And then he started dealing with anxiety, depression. I could never get through to him. I tried to put him in touch with you, but I think by that time it was too late, and he passed away this last May. So again, I just want to thank you for what you're doing and bring awareness to it, number one, but also for bringing attention to how nutrition can help. And I'm always big on that. I went through my own journey. If any of you guys have read The Color Purple, the little girl in the book that gets sick all the time, she had sickle cell. And they talked about in the book how every time she would start to get pain, they would feed her yams, and that would help with her pain. And so that kind of took me down my own nutrition journey. And so again, I just thank you for bringing attention to it. I think if the physicians in the room could embrace nutrition a little bit more and really talk about that more with our warriors and help guide them, it would have a huge impact. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, guys.
First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Mary Loden. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I give credit first to my sister, Dr. Raleigh, for bringing me on the Cayenne team. She has a vision for what she wants for you all, and so I'm readily available, and I have several clients that I see all the way in South Carolina this year. But let me tell you, my story goes, and I'll be very brief as possible. I didn't learn I had sickle cell trait till I was 51. And in learning that, I was married to my husband, who's a Nigerian, who I knew had the sickle cell trait. So we're raising a beautiful, rising 15-year-old girl who actually is, as she actually has the disease. And I wasn't aware of what to look for. And she didn't start to have crises until she started dancing in her teenage years. So now the reason why we've done well with her and she hasn't gone into a full-blown where she had to be hospitalized is because I raised her holistically. Now, my childhood, I wish we'd known. I could have done a lot of preventive things. A couple of things. One, I was raised on the south side of Chicago, single family home. My mother was a caterer and she cared about food, but I was a junkie. I loved milk, a lot of inflammation, very inflammatory to the body. I loved sugar. That's the #1 drug in the world. And I suffered from multiple infections. I literally missed 56 days in kindergarten because I was always getting sick. And no one knew why. So the bottom line is, when I actually became a nurse because I was so enamored with how well doctors would take care of me, and I felt better, even if they gave me a lollipop, which was kind of, yeah. All right. So when I learned how to take care of myself, that's when my life got better. Now, what's crazy is that I joined the military, did 30 years, and I didn't die. I didn't drop dead like I could have with all the rigor and exercise, stress management. So all three of you pointed at different aspects, mind, body, and spirit. And when we talk about DOs, right, I'm thinking specifically the ones who do manipulative therapy. And it's different because some DOs now, 5 minutes, because they're in a system. And I always tell people, don't go to a medical system expecting something that's outside that system. Now, I believe in double-blind studies and being safe, and maybe that's where we have to do more work. But as a homeopathic clinician, there's a dedicated homeopathic research center in the UK. When I go outside this country, I get better care than in this country. And I can tell you right now, the key in what I try to really infuse in the lives of the people I touch with Cayenne Wellness, the key is holistic lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit, and specifically eating real food. So with that, Demetria, I too want to invest in your project and what you have to bring to the table. Thank you so much for sharing.